Well, The Predator is back. And is it a good movie? Well, ALANNIS, is it?
No.
Straight up, bro. Straight up. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ranked and Reviewed. I am your host, TOMYE West, and joining me as always is my co-host, ALANNIS MAXIMUS.
Howdy.
And here we are starting our Predator Ranked and Reviewed series with our first entry into the series. It's not really the first, but we're going to take it as the first, as it is classified a prequel. So, starting today, this is where our Predator Ranked and Reviewed series begins, with Prey. And before we get into it, make sure you subscribe, you like, and you share. ALANNIS, let's take a quick look at the trailer for Prey and discuss maybe why your thoughts are it sucked.
There's something out there. I've never seen anything like it.
From the director of 10 Cloverfield Lane.
I'm not frightened by a bear. It's not a bear.
The Predator's first hunt on Earth is the movie event you can't miss. You think you're ready? Prey, rated R, only on Hulu, August 5th.
That was the trailer. Now, if you want to wear, it's available on Hulu now. If you want to stream it, if you're in America, if you're in Australia, it is available on Disney Plus. Kind of. It's on Disney Plus through something called Star. I don't even know, man. I've never heard of this thing. I just signed up for it for this fucking movie. So, without further ado, let's get into what we thought about Prey. And we're going to do the old thing that we always do, and that's give ALANNIS the table first to give us his impressions. ALANNIS.
I think sucked is a rough way to put it. To be a little nicer, I think it once again is a Predator movie that if you want to take your brain out, eat some popcorn and go, oh, it's Predator, it's all right. But if you want a good Predator movie, you're in for a bad time because once again, there's a wealth of source material you can go from to make a good Predator movie, and it boggles me that they always go, let's be edgy and change it. And that's what they did here. And it set up a lot of contradictions within itself. Like the major thing that got me was the director, from what I understand, has gone, we'll make the Predator somewhat primitive, but still more advanced than like 1700s Frenchmen and Native Americans. One, it wasn't a massive jump. Like, there's still a massive technology jump with the Predator we see in any other movie and where we are as people technologically. Two, you're having me believe that these Predators that clearly would have to that fly at beyond light speed to come to us, that these Predators have that technology, but they're still, in terms of weaponry, still basically slightly above where we are now, but throwing spears and no lasers, no decent armor, no explosives, really. It fell in on itself in a big way there for me. That was, I think, my major bugbear. I'm like, I get what you're trying to do, but you're doing it wrong. Just because these people are primitive, the Predator doesn't have to be, one, look like it's a primitive, and two, be that dumbed down. I don't think what they delivered would have worked any differently if they replaced those homing spear things with a plasma blast. It really wouldn't have. He was still OP. It seemed like it fell in on itself on its own logic there to me, and it bugged me the whole movie. And the other thing was the look of the Predator. Like, it looked like the Predator, but the Elephant Man version of the Predator. It wasn't a good interpretation, and that annoyed me as well.
All right. See, I have problems with this movie, but not necessarily the same problems as you. I was not trying to think too hard about the other Predator movies while watching this. I kind of wanted to take this as a movie, like a standalone movie. As it's a prequel, I kind of was like, well, I'm going to just forget everything I know about the Predator series and take this movie as it is, being his first hunt on this planet or whatever. So looking at it through that lens, my main gripes were, I don't know if I missed something, but what was making it so, like, what did she have around her neck that made it so she couldn't be seen?
I missed that as well.
Okay,
The
Yeah.
herbs lowered your body temperature, I think. But I mean, if you're lowering your body to the temperature to the point you're not being seen on infrared, if that's what it was, you would be dead.
That kind of seemed like almost a fantastical element to add to me. Like, it was almost like if you were trying to take Predator as like a fact-based movie or like a grounded, down-to-earth, real event movie that could happen on this earth, that almost seems out of the realm of possibility, even if you look at it in that regard, where you're like, okay, I'm going to take everything at face value and be like, well, this could happen and this could happen. This is the way the Predator is. But then that happens and you're like, whose fucking bonehead idea was that to put in this movie?
The mud was right there and used.
Exactly. The mud answered it in the first movie when Arnold Schwarzenegger covers himself in mud and he's like up against the thing and he realizes that it can't see him. So he uses that to his advantage. She falls in a mud pit. She's drowning in mud, yeah? And like, it's all there. Like, I don't understand why they didn't have that, like, kind of take place, the ending, like, where she could have been covered in mud instead of being carrying this fucking, like, almost like wishing charm around with her or some shit. Like, that was one of my main gripe. And then my second main gripe, which is, these are my only problems really with the movie, is when the not English, but the French dudes came in and those actors and that French accent and what, it didn't even need to be those people. And it almost like made the movie feel like going from a real good, well shot, acted movie to like laughable almost with those characters in it. They were really fucking stupid, and like the moment I saw them, I was like, these guys look like they're dressed up from a costume designer on a school musical. Like, they don't look like a feature film. Like, I don't know, man. It's hard to describe why I hated them so much and why I hated that element so much, but I felt like the movie kind of suffered a lot having that be a catalyst in the movie. I would have almost preferred that they were just beefing with another tribe or something like that. You know what I mean? And like, they just kept it as it is. They didn't need to bring any of those people in. Like, there were other ways they could have tackled that situation to put them in a situation where they were stuck and they had to try and get out of this trap or whatever. And I just thought that was a really weak point in the movie for me, myself. Now, my other thing is, I'm going to take it a little bit differently to you, which is, I'm going to say that I think the Predator moved and flowed, and he's sort of the way he like just the action, like the slick moves he does with his fucking everything, like all these fucking weapons and shit like that. That cool weapon that fucking grabbed this dude and like sucked him into the dirt almost or whatever. I don't even know what the fuck happened there. It was just awesome. And like cutting the heads off and the fucking that bomb that he let off in the like woods and like as the people were running away and the trees falling down. Like, I thought all of that was badass. I actually think it's pretty much more badass than anything the Predator does in the actual first Predator movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, I'm not saying that it's the best interpretation we've gotten, but I would definitely say that out of like choreography of how the action is presented and how cool it looks and how stylized it is, it's a lot more cooler than anything the Predator did in the original Predator movie. Because if you watch the original Predator movie, it's just being an invisible predator that like kills people brutally. It doesn't have any style. It doesn't have any like acrobatics. It doesn't have any like style to the way the fucking kills are dished out and things like that. Whereas I felt this movie did really well, just with choreographing and the way it flowed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. I don't know if you can add anything to that. Do you agree with that? It probably is more stylized than the original Predator.
I do, and I think the Predator moved well, but it was everything around that I didn't like. His look, his weaponry, and that's another thing that kind of links in with that as well. Is I get that if it bleeds, we kill it. Cool shout back to the first movie. What I didn't like is the gun from Predator 2. The Indians had that. You see that given on by a Predator that looks like the fucking Predator, not some bulbous head thing. And they've connected it, but this is obviously, they've made them completely different in looks, not only weapons. And also, apart from in the very end, blink and you miss it, the drawing, you see the ship come back. Does this mean the Predators have now wiped out those Indians and taken that gun? Like, what? There was a tacky Easter egg that just poked more holes in the vague connection to the continuum as the prequel.
What I'm confused about is, now look, I don't know if we ever get a solid answer as to why the Predators are here in the first place in the original Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, I don't know.
Hunting us for sport. Pretty much the same sort of thing.
Okay, but that's why I feel like no movie has addressed that properly until we got the Predators movie in like 2010 or something like that. And I think that they handled it much differently and much better, which was throwing some humans onto the planet that the Predators live in rather than having the Predators come to your planet. Because as I said, like, yeah, okay, you just said it, that to hunt us for sport, but like if we don't take into account the other movies, okay, we have no idea what their planet's like or whatever like that. But if we do take into account what we've known about Predator and where they come from and what their planet's like, why would they come here and hunt us when they have a home advantage and they can hunt things on their own planet? You know what I mean? So, like, it just seems a bit far to go to hunt for sport when, like, motherfuckers hunt for sport on planet Earth all the time, and they're not going to like intergalactic planets to go hunt other things, you know? So,
I think it's kind of more expanded in like the Dark Horse comics, their culture and things like that. But I think it's sometimes it's like a rite of passage kind of thing, like send one predator to trophy hunt and kind of initiate kind of thing.
that's
I think,
cool and everything, but
yeah.
I don't understand why we can't get a little bit more of that as an explanation. Like, I'd like to see,
exactly.
I'd like to kind of see the setup to that, or at least it's not a. I almost would prefer that they were on their way past the planet when the ship, something went wrong with the ship and they crash landed and they literally had no choice but to stay where they were until the other predators arrive to get them, or they're just going to live in those jungles and hunt for sport like they always do. Like, I almost feel like that would be a better thing than just to be them to be like, set course for Earth, so we're going to hunt some humans, you know? Like,
you kind of got that in AVP Requiem, but that still wasn't a great movie. But that's exactly it with
forward to those entries, man. I'm not looking forward to Alien versus Predator 1 or Alien versus Predator Requiem, because I was sitting back thinking about what we're doing with these movies. I was like, okay, so we have to watch Prey, Predator, Predator 2, and I'm like, I know Predator really well. Like, I've seen it a bunch. Like, then I know Predator 2 is like set in a city, and I was like, and then we've got Predators, which is set in their planet, and then we've got the other Predator movie in 2018, which was set on planet Earth anyway and was kind of boring. So I'm like, what was the Alien versus Predator movies like again? I was trying to think what they were, and then I was like, oh yeah, that fucking boring pyramid out in that fucking snow area or whatever. I'm like, oh no, man, I fucking hate that movie. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to those entries.
I think Requiem was a little better, but the bad one for me I'm not looking forward to is the 28 one, the Predator. That's a bad time. Like, the Predator literally comes here to steal autism.
I know that's a shit reason and stuff, but you know what? If you, again, try to go into that movie and don't look at it as a Predator movie. Just go in for a bit of fun. Like, it's kind of like how when people ask me, did you think Jurassic World Dominion was good? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, is it as good as the other Jurassic Park movies? And I'm like, well, I wouldn't say that. But I would also say that if you go into this movie expecting it to be like the other movies, well, you're going to be disappointed because this is Jurassic Park on steroids. This is Fast and the Furious with dinosaurs. You know what I mean? And that's how I look at the Predator 2018 is like, just go in, watch it, and just enjoy the choreography of the action again, like which is what I kind of enjoyed from Prey, you know? Like, there are some badass moments with the Predator in that movie that I can remember, like just him throwing people over tables and things like that. And that's the sort of shit that I like in movies, is like stylized choreography, making the violence cool and stylistic rather than just brutal and boring. You know what I mean? So, again, I'm not trying to defend any of these movies. I'm not trying to tell anyone my thoughts on any of the future movies or installments because I don't want to give away my thoughts. But I will say that maybe I can try and persuade your brain to think differently going into that and just look at it like, all right, this is going to be a fever dream. Who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? Like, as long as it's kind of, it's better than watching Neighbours that ended again, you know? Like,
it'll be hard for me to like that movie, so you'll have a task. Yeah, that's with what you've been saying about their culture and kind of understanding why that is also, you just saying that makes me even more annoyed. Is like, you're someone that digs this franchise and you want to know more, but you're not necessarily into the comics or the reading side of it. The writers of these movies should look back into this treasure trove, this world of information, where there's some really good shit, and use it in the movies. It's there, it's good, it'll work, it'll be better.
my question to you now, though, is, okay, now that they've set up this lore and this world, and this seems to be reviewing very well, it seems to be on the hype train at the moment, a lot of people are watching it, and majority, I think, are 99%, I'd say 99% of people that watch this movie are going to say it's one of the best Predator movies, if not the second best Predator movie next to the first one. Which, look, no offense, I do love this series and I love Predator, but the first movie isn't fucking this masterclass movie. Like, I'm going to be all honest. Usually we watch the movies each week and we go along with each week. I'm going to be all honest. I've watched Predator, Prey, Predators, and The Predator in the last 2 weeks. So I don't need to watch the rest of those movies. I've already written down my thoughts. I already know what I'm ranking them and shit like that. The only one I do have to watch again is Predator 2. Now, I've never been able to sit through Predator 2. I've never been able to sit through it. I almost looked at it always as like, it took too long for me or something to get going, or for me to find comfortability in the setting. Like, I don't like the Predator in a city environment or like a town environment. I like Predator in a jungle on their planet, like in a foreign exotic sort of place. I don't like seeing the Predator in city streets and things like that. So I don't know if like I'll enjoy it again watching it through this time more, like, you know, but I've never been able to sit through Predator 2. Now, with this movie, now that they've set this world up, are you hoping that if we do get a sequel around this world that they've created for Predator, are you hoping that that lore is expanded on and maybe the setting that they've got now could be improved, or are you thinking they just need to scrap it and begin again with another idea? Because I almost feel like if Predator doesn't find its feet from this movie and try to build success off this movie and it failed again, we may not see a Predator movie for another 20 years, because they've tried so many times to recapture the magic from Predator, the original one and shit, and it's failed miserably every time in some form, whether it's reviews, whether it's critical reception. So now that they've kind of found their footing with this and it seems to be on the favourable side, are you hoping we see more and they improve, or are you just wishing they abandon it, basically?
I think they either need to leave this as a prequel, try and make another movie that's more along the lines of 1, 2, and Predators. Look into the source material a little more. Maybe even look into Aliens vs Predator again.
That's what I was about to say, man. Is let's fucking get that right, because that has so much fucking potential to be a badass fucking movie. And look, I'm not saying it's a perfect movie either, but a movie that kind of tackled this whole versus situation with two things. It's Freddy versus Jason, and they did it really fucking well. I'm not saying it's a great movie. I don't even really like Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees, but I will say that out of the Jason Voorhees movies and the Freddy Krueger movies, I enjoy that one probably above them all. You know what I mean? So I feel like if they could find what the problem is, they're having trouble finding a footing for Alien itself as well at the moment. Like we had,
they're very similar in that way.
like they're both sort of like struggling franchises that keep getting new entries that people are really excited for, because there are people that are hard fans for both of these franchises, and they keep fucking them up on their own. And then when they put them together, they're like, this will make it better. And they can't even make it better. I almost feel like if we're going to get an Alien versus Predator, which, by the way, I'd fucking love, I do almost feel like we need a solid Alien footing and a solid Predator footing to build the narrative up to each other to create one branching story that they could crisscross into one movie. You know what I mean? But until we get to that point with both of these franchises, maybe hold off on the Alien versus Predator thing. The word is that we're getting an Alien television series. I don't know how good that's going to be, but just on a side note, what did you think of Alien Covenant?
I didn't mind them, but I think I'm pretty sure
because the last Alien Covenant, the movie was the last one that they made, like the last Alien one. I went and saw it. Was, I thought, a really fucking good Alien movie. Do you remember it? It was where they go to their planet, sort of thing, and then it has like the droid that is already living on the planet again and shit like that. I thought it was really good. It just didn't hit with box office results with critical acclaim, and I don't think we've seen an Alien movie since.
I think it kind of bombed. I don't think it got well received, which I didn't mind it. I think it was better than Alien Resurrection was. Yeah. But then we were gonna get a retcon for a while there, where we cut out. It pretty much picked up from after Aliens, but that got taken over by Covenant and
Prometheus.
So
I didn't think Prometheus was a bad movie though.
It wasn't terrible.
It just wasn't an Alien spin-off.
Yeah, it wasn't an. If you wanted to see an Alien movie, it's not that.
No, it's a spin-off that no one asked for, but it was okay. It would have been nice to see it set up a little bit more of the alien world and actually then present us with what that movie presented us into a new Alien movie, but whatever, I guess we'll just never see that. But going back to Predator now. So tell me a little bit about maybe what you liked about this movie then.
I liked the dog. The dog stole the show.
Well, I just hate when they put animal shit into movies. Like, I don't want to see animals get killed. Like, I don't care about people getting killed. Like, that's the whole point of going to see these fucking movies. But when an animal gets killed, it's the same thing in Terminator when he kills the fucking dog. And then he's just like, how's Wolfie? On the phone and shit. It's like, poor Wolfie, man. What did he fucking do to deserve any of this? So, yeah, I agree that the dog was cool in it and shit, but I almost would have preferred that they just left that out, because every time the dog, I was like, no, don't hurt the dog. No, don't hurt the dog. And I'm like, I can't watch these movies and have that as my main concern. You know what I mean? Now, we were chatting while we were watching it. You just finished watching it, and I was in the middle of watching it. By the way, it was all sorts of fucked up with getting put up today. It was put up on Hulu 2 hours before it was put up on Disney Plus for us. So I'm sitting there refreshing the screen, and it keeps saying watch trailer, coming soon. And then I go, I'm just going to check torrent day. And I go on to torrent day and it says Prey, Hulu, RIP, 1080p, download. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I went back to my streaming service and refreshed, Disney Plus, still not there, man. So I'm like, well, you forced me to download it. And then I started downloading it and it didn't want to download. So it took an hour and a half to get to 70%. And by the time I got to 70%, I refreshed Disney Plus and it was there. So I wasted all that fucking time, man. Like, I could have been watching it way before if torrents just didn't fuck up my shit royally, you know? But, so it was all sorts of fucked up. But, like, anyways, my point is to that I was very excited to watch this movie. I really liked the tone of it. I really liked the cinematography, the way this movie was shot, and the effects that they did use that did look good. Like, I'm talking about when they were running through the field of, like, all the tall, I don't know, was it like fucking wheat, or was it just flour? I can't remember if it's flour or wheat.
Or grass kind of thing, yeah.
I don't know, but they were running through that, and when the guy fucking basically gets fucking slashed and the blood flies out, and then the Predator's running through invisible, but you can see the blood being dragged through the thing, like, all that was really fucking cool. Again, all the effects with the Predator's weapons are really cool. So, like, I really enjoyed those elements to this movie. That's what I thought was enjoyable. I also liked how it took its time to get us to the Predator, like the first movie does with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It takes a while before you even see anything related to the Predator. I think it's at least half an hour, and then you're still only seeing, like, an invisible body, and it's really bad CG, by the way. We'll talk about that when we get to it. It's not as bad as the CG. It's worse than the CG in this, and I know it's an old movie, but, man, like, it was a remaster, and even, like, me watching the remaster, I was like, phew. But it's fucking terrible. So I'm getting lost with what I'm saying, but basically, I really didn't think this movie was terrible, but I didn't think it reached the heights that I expected it to. I also would have liked, once that we saw the Predator and the action kicked off, to have that action keep going and going, whereas I felt like we got a bit and they held back, then they got a bit and they held back, and then at the end we kind of got the big thing. So, I mean, how many minutes would you put the Predator actually being physically seen in this movie? Because I'd put it on par with how long the dinosaurs are in Jurassic Park, the first one.
Yeah, it's not much. Not much
I'd
at
say
all.
all up, like, maybe 12 minutes.
Yeah.
15 minutes, and the rest is, I feel like you can tell that they were very budget restricted with this movie.
Especially with that's the only thing that lets me forgive the bear and the lion CG. Because as soon as I saw them, I'm like, I don't want to sound precious about it, but as soon as they're on, I'm just like, whoa, that looks bad. Like,
Yeah, I got vibes of that this could have been done by, except for, like, the Predator, the visual effects, the choreography, the action scenes, and the budget, those big budget bits. Like, this movie felt like it could have been done by film students.
yeah.
Also, the script is very thin. It is like, how much dialogue do you reckon is in this movie?
Not much.
Not much, man. Like, I'd
More than
say,
Jurassic Park 3, though.
dude, how many lines did Superman have in fucking Batman v Superman? Like 55 lines? Like, I'd say it's on par with that with a lot of this, you know?
Yeah.
But I did like a lot of the dialogue that was used, not between the natives, but when she was talking to herself and delivering those sort of, like, lines, like, you don't know I'm killing you, and neither will it, or whatever and shit. Like, the way that she delivered those lines and stuff, that was really cool. You know, I thought she did a phenomenal job as the actress in this movie, as the lead. I thought she was a really good protagonist for the Predator. I just think that she did the best she could, obviously, with the script that she was given. And you got to remember that that's the thing, is that she's an actress. She did a really good job, and everyone did a really good job. I just feel like the writers of this movie had a lot where they were like, oh, well, why can't she be seen? Well, I don't know, make it that the Indians have got some herb that lowers their fucking blood. Like, you know, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I would have just preferred that, as you said, the mud was there. That would have been fine, you know. So with that, what do you think our chances are of seeing a direct sequel to this Prey, or do you think we get a whole new Predator? Because I'm putting money on that they're going to go with the foundation that they built on this.
I think if they're going to do another one, because I can't see a reason for the Predators to return, especially close enough to be this tribe, this character. It's not how the Predators work. And to do that is you're going against kind of what they've done the whole time, which I don't like. I think if they're going to have another prequel, have it set in the 1800s, have it set in like earlier on, but not the same thing. Don't make the same movie again. Make it in a slightly later period of time and have the Predator come and hunt.
Another thing that just went through my mind, because I was thinking about how you like make it in the 1800s, and I was thinking, this is set in the 1700s in the Great Plains or something like that. When I was trying to think of what comes up, and I was like, wait a second, why are there all these French dudes there? Isn't it like Native Americans?
It's it would be.
You might know the history to this if there is any actual history tied to this. Why they're doing this, because this is set in Native America, yeah.
Well, in around then it would have been around the time when the French, the Spanish, and the English started kind of colonizing America.
True. Okay. That makes sense. But still, I'm pretty sure the person that discovered America wasn't French.
No.
So that they didn't need to be French, is what you say.
Yeah.
So they could have avoided putting in something that made the movie terrible if they just made it that they were English fucking like, I don't get it, man. Like, I don't understand why they had to be French, and they were like, oh, we blah, like, and they just look like fat slob drunk Frenchmen from a fucking budget musical, and I hated it. I hated that part.
Yeah, it's
Do you know why this went to streaming services at all? Because now that this has come out, I almost feel like I've seen people saying this was definitely deserving of a cinema release. It finally did the Predator sort of justice after that terrible 2018 movie, which went to the cinemas, so why didn't this? But I don't know. I don't have the answer as to why this went straight to streaming service. Was this, like, funded by the streaming service?
I would also say probably budget as well. It wasn't as polished, I don't think, as a AAA movie release. I don't think.
Definitely wasn't. But again, when I click play on it, I was like, it's a pretty short movie. Like, if you like add in the credits and like the opening to the movie and blah blah blah, like, it's an hour and 40 minutes with all that. So you're looking at like an hour and a half tops of actual movie, which I'm not sure if it's like the shortest Predator, but it would have to be the lowest, like one of the lowest. Surely there isn't a Predator movie that's an hour and 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just thought it was very short movie. Like, when I was like watching, I was like, oh, this is a cakewalk to watch, you know? But this has me questioning something, Alan. Does this mean, now that we're doing Predator and we're doing all those movies, that we're going to have to do Alien after that as well?
I think
we're doing Alien versus Predator. It makes no sense to rank the Alien versus Predator movies in the Predator rankings without doing the Alien ones as well, I guess.
Yeah, I think maybe we might have to.
We'll have to look at that after we finish. Or maybe look at it with Halloween. I don't know. And Barbie. Oh, by the way, man, I have a lot to say about our Halloween 3 review, man. And you know what it mainly is it's going to be me going, ALANNIS, you're going to have to tell me about a lot of what happened in this movie, because I tried watching it 3 times, fell asleep. And dude, I gave up. I'll talk about it in my review, because I was like, I can't, man. I just can't. Anyway, we're going to get straight onto is there anything you want to say quickly before, like, with your closing thoughts? Not closing thoughts on the thing, but what your wrap up is this part, basically.
I think I'll try to end it on a high note. I've been pretty hard on it, but yeah, it's worth a watch on a Sunday afternoon with a bag of popcorn. But don't expect greatness, because maybe expect greatness. You might like it more than me. Apparently, a lot of people do. But
well, dude, that's the captions on YouTube. The best Predator movie since the first. Like as I said, I sent you a news story yesterday about how early previews had this set at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like there wasn't one bad review yet. So like I think that may have been something to do with the fact of you being a little let down by this, as well as that you expected much more after seeing the response it had got. So whereas I've learned that I just have terrible taste in movies, and I don't listen to anybody anymore, man, because you know what? I've come out of so many movies that everyone fucking hates and been like, I thought it was good. Just like Jurassic World Dominion. I came out of that movie and said, I fucking liked that movie. I thought it was awesome. I want to watch it again. And everyone was like, that movie sucked. I'm like, I guess I just like sucky movies then. So, with that, would you recommend people go see it? Sign up to Hulu to see it if it's a 3-day trial, or would you recommend that people stay away if they have to actually pay to sign up again?
I think if you're watching something else on there, go for it. But
what else? Not, Hulu, man.
Get your mate's password or go to their house and watch it.
What else?
Don't go out of your way.
Man? Like we don't have Hulu here in Australia, but we know about HBO Max, and we don't have that in Australia because there's a lot of shit on HBO Max. We know all about all the streaming services in different countries that have things of note. Whereas Hulu, dude, this is like the first time anyone's ever been like, you're going to sign up to Hulu? And I'm like, well, we can't, first of all, yeah. But, like, I've never even, like, once been like, is that a show that's only on Hulu? You know what I mean? Like, so I would say, yeah, if you've got a 7-day trial, sign up, baby. If you're already signed up, give it a watch. If you're not too much of a Predator fan, or you're, like, hanging to watch, I'm confused. Will this come to Blu-ray? Or 4K, or
think so.
Whatever, because it's on a streaming service, it's like how you can't buy Narcos on Blu-ray yet because Netflix still owns the rights, and Netflix don't release anything onto Blu-ray, which sucks for people that love Narcos but don't want anything to do with Netflix anymore, like myself. But so I don't know, man. I don't know if you should wait for this to get released on 4K Blu-ray or whatever you want to watch it on if you're a big Predator fan, or if you just give it a miss. I don't know, bro. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I didn't hate it. ALANNIS, he liked it, but he didn't really like it. It had its problems. So with that, let's get into some things that might even answer some of the questions that we've had discussing this, which is the trivia. I was saying I don't have any idea about why Hulu, why I didn't go to the movies. Maybe we'll find out in the trivia here a little about the reason behind all this. All right. We actually have an answer right here. So, 20th Century Studios, now owned by Disney, announced in November 2020 that it engaged 10 Cloverfield Lane, 2016 director, Dan Trachtenberg, to direct a 5th installment in the Predator series. The script is being written by, this is obviously done before, the script was being written by Patrick Aison, whose producer-writer credits include the series Kingdom, Jack Ryan, and Treadstone. Then Trachtenberg was bummed the news on the film leaked and tweeted, "This was meant to be a surprise. Been working on this for almost 4 years now. I'm very sad that what we had in store for you could discover... I'm very sad that what we had in store for how you could discover this movie will no longer happen. It's a bummer." So I thought that was going to answer our question, but it didn't. Maybe he will have a look. It was announced in April 2021 that the original Predator scribes were suing Disney 20th Century Studios. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Jim and John Thomas, who wrote 1987's Predator, have filed a lawsuit against 20th Century Studios over the copyrights to the sci-fi action classic. The Thomas brothers allegedly filed a suit to exploit a copyright termination provision in order to recover the copyright to their literary material. Disney's 20 studios filed a countersuit against them to keep the series under its ever-expanding film roster until the lawsuit is decided. The new Predator movie, to be directed by Dan Trachtenberg, can't move ahead. Obviously, that got sorted because we got the movie. Trying to find first Predator film to be released as a streaming exclusive. No shit, because the film was originally envisioned as an R-rated film. However, producer John Davis hinted at a possible PG-rated 13, PG rating as well. If that latter is true, then this will make the Prey the first solo Predator movie to be rated PG-13. Now, I'm going to check. Surely this isn't PG-13. No. I was like, dude, if this is PG-13, I have some fucking big questions, man. Like, even bigger questions than what I originally had when we were watching The Batman. And I was like, dude, like, I'd never let my son watch this movie at his age. Like, fuck, man. Like, that opening scene of the Riddler beating fucking that dude to death is like, that is not PG-13, and I don't give a fuck what anyone says. You're not going to convince me otherwise. It seems like all the trivia about this movie is pretty fucking out of date. The movie is slated to be released in Comanche language. So there is also an English version and a version with Comanche subtitles. So apparently they are going to be releasing this movie in its, like, in Native American, Comanche. And apparently they actually filmed the actors doing the lines twice. So once in English, and then all of them were speaking Comanche as well. So they've got two versions of this movie. One that we saw with the English, obviously, and then one that is going to be all in the Native American, which is what the characters are based around. So, I mean, would you want to watch it in Comanche with subtitles, or would you prefer to watch the English? Because I know a few people are saying they would prefer to watch the Native American one with the subtitles to get more authenticity. But in all honesty, I don't think that this movie kind of calls for
Feels
that.
like polishing a turd. Like, it'll add some stuff, but it won't add enough stuff.
And what confuses me is, then why the fuck didn't the French people talk English then? Like, they're like, oh, don't worry, we're going to make a Comanche version, but we need English because people aren't going to want to sit here and watch Comanche, and there's a lot of people that like Predator that don't like reading subtitles and all this bullshit. And then they're like, what about the colonizers? Make it French. We're going to subtitle it? Nah.
Yeah.
Could you turn on subtitles at that point and get what they were saying, or was it all just like French gibberish? Because to me it just sounded like they were going like, "Voulez-vous du stano?" Like, pretty much. That just makes no sense. They're like, "Oh man, we'll do it right, and we'll do it Comanche." What about the French?
That was another thing, actually. That one dude is like, "I know a lot of languages." And it's like, how the fuck have you learned Comanche? Like,
and you know what? That was the one thing I was disappointed too. Is we didn't get the Predator showing us that he can record and mimic voices of people, or like train his voice back. We saw none of that. Like, I mean, that was a big point in all the Predator movies, starting with the first one, going all the way through it, that they can lure people into traps by masking their tone as someone that they recognize, or like exact phrases or laughs and things like that. That was a big sort of like thing that they had to use at their disposal. And I felt like we didn't get any of that in this movie, and it would have kind of been cool to like use the like sound of the dog to bring in, or you know what I mean? Like, there were so many opportunities you could have used that, and we didn't get that in this movie, which I thought was a little weird. Did you notice anything else that we sort of get in other Predator movies that was missing, like tech-wise or anything like that?
A lot. And they, I don't know. I'll stop going on about the tech-wise thing. It's a can of worms for me, right?
Hey man, look, there are people out there that love this fucking movie franchise that are all about it, and they probably would love to hear as much depth as they can about this, because how often are people talking about Predator on fucking things? what everyone wants to talk about right now that are horror movie fans / action movie fans, whatever you want to say.
It's it still just baffles me. Like, I don't get the approach with the primitive. Yeah, no, it's
You know what's weird too is that I watched a couple of reviews of all this. So I'm not going to say who reviews I watched or who I'm taking like this from, but like they kind of rate the movie on different like things. So like they'll give it like 3 stars for action, 5 stars for fucking story, 4 stars for narrative or whatever. You know what I mean? And this person said that he gave it a 2 out of 5 for suspense because he didn't feel like there was as much suspense as there were in other Predator movies, and this felt like a straight up action movie. And I'm going to stop that guy right there and say, I don't think there's ever been suspense in a Predator movie. Like, I've never been scared of a Predator movie like I am with an Alien movie. Like, Alien is unsettling. It's like the way, like, it's gross. It's creepy the way it fucking like its mouth comes out and the way it's like it's got tentacles, and it is just a creepy thing by design. And that whole movie, the first movie, Alien, is about suspense. It's not about gore. It's not about horror. It's about that you're fucking like hanging on by like fingernails. You know what I mean? And I've always looked at Predator as it's an Arnold Schwarzenegger fucking action movie with aliens in it. You know, so like, do you agree that this isn't a movie that I would ever put suspense in?
yeah. I wouldn't think suspense. No. Yeah. No. That's
No. It's never been scary. Like Predator is not. I've never once looked at Predator as scary. And you know what? Even as an old grown dude, I still find Alien like unpleasant, disgusting. The design of them is really fucked up, and I just like they make my skin crawl. Like they just remind me of big fucking like gross outer space octopuses and shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's just like so much about them that is scary and is suspenseful with that design. And I just feel like Predator has never been about the horror, the suspense. It's been about the action. And yeah, sure, there's been some gory shit like how they skin people alive and hang them upside down. But that's not scary. It's just like whatever. It's just this, Alan. It's just
it's gruesome. That's about it.
it's just it's just for all your audio listeners at home. It's just
It,
so. All right, with that, we're going to bring up our what we officially gave this out of 5 stars each. Now, if you're new to the series, we get together once a week. We review every movie in the franchise and we rank them. And by the end of every series, we have a full ranking of movies we thought was best to worst in a franchise. Now, you might have seen this premise on YouTube before, whatever. We do it a little bit different. Rather than coming to an agreement and having one ranking for both of us where we have to agree, we find it fun to rank and review the movies ourselves and talk about it and discuss it and then talk why we gave it the score we did and where we're ranking it, because it causes little tiffs of being like, what the fuck are you talking about? It causes a little bit of concern when ALANNIS gives Batman and Robin such a high ranking and The Dark Knight such a low ranking. But look, it's fun. That's what it is. So next week, we will start with a list ranking where we put each entry. But as we have started with only one movie at the moment, we have nothing to rank it against, which is why we put a score on it out of 5. So, check it out. This is what we gave it out of 5 stars. Myself, gave it a 3. ALANNIS gave it a 2. So,
at least that's 2 more than Morbius, and that's something.
So you gave Morbius a 0.
Actually, I gave Morbius probably a -5, so that's 5 more than Morbius.
Dude, I give it a -10 because Jared Leto's in it.
Oh, man.
Now, as we said, we're doing the Halloween movies at the moment. We're up to Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, which, man, what a movie, huh? But, the snooze fest. But next week, we're going to be back with our review for Halloween 4, The Revenge of Michael Myers? No, The Return? The Return? It's The Return.
Breakfast
It's The
with Michael
Return.
Myers.
It's The Return. It's The Return. I know it's The Return. So it's The Return of Michael Myers. I'm looking forward to getting back to real Halloween rather than fake-ass Season of the Witch Halloween. But, so next week, tune in to see our Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers review, and our Predator, is it 1987?
Yes.
Review. I got a lot to say on all these movies, man. I'm really looking forward to doing all these. Also, you should all let us know if you like the episodes we do and the way we do these episodes. Please let us know in comments below, because after Halloween, things might change up a little bit in how these shows are presented, how we deliver them, how the show is put together. It's going to be completely different because we feel as if a change might need to happen to keep traffic up. But we want to hear from the fans out there that actually watch our shit, if they want to change or if they want us to keep doing what we're doing. And you know what, ALANNIS? I really like what we do. I really like our show. So, in all honesty, I really hope that we can keep it the way it is. But you got to change. You got to grow. And if you don't, you die. Am I right,
Yes.
or am I right, ALANNIS?
Yes.
So, that has been our very thorough ranked and reviewed episode for Prey, beginning our Predator ranked and reviewed series. I'm looking forward to doing the rest of these. Just not looking forward to the Alien vs. Predator movies. I will, however, tell everyone that I'm very excited to watch Predators again, and I don't give a fuck what anyone says about that movie. It's a really fucking good movie.
I agree.
I don't remember it when it came out. So, you might have a better recollection. How was that movie received? Because I wasn't the biggest Predator fan back then. I'm pretty sure that's the movie that, like, kind of got me into the series, but I can't be sure. I can't remember what order I seen them. I know I seen Predator before that, but didn't really have an interest until I saw Predators and was like, this is a really fucking good movie. So do you remember if it was, like, received well? I mean, it can't have been that great considering we didn't get a follow-up, but
I can't remember how it was received. I don't think it was given the credit it deserves, though.
I definitely don't think it was given the credit it deserved. I think it was a really fucking good movie. Anyways, as always, I've been your host, TOMYE West. My co-host, as always, has been ALANNIS Maximus. Remember, like, subscribe, and share, and leave us a comment, because when you leave us a comment, it makes us feel good, which makes you feel good. That's the deal, isn't it right, Alan?
Damn straight.
Remember, if you like what we do here, fucking tell us before we fucking end the show in a fucking cloud of fire and fists and anger. I'm going to end the show on my best Predator impersonation. Terrible, I know, but guess what? Not as bad as the French people in this movie. See you all next week. Thanks.